to America First, Sidney Powell.
Thank you so much, Seb. We could just call this the Sid and Seb segment.
The Sid and Seb segment. I like that. Ladies first, always. Follow her right now. Sidney Powell one. She is a happy warrior, which is what you need when you are fighting the swamp. A single-handed warrior for truth. I'll just start with a simple question. Sidney, where is the case against Mike Flynn?
It is still sitting in Judge Emmett Sullivan's court more than 160 days after the government moved to dismiss it with prejudice, more than 50 days after the D.C. Circuit told him to decide it with dispatch, and now approximately 3 weeks after the hearing.
Is this just playing for time? You filed that request to have it dismissed. The higher three-judge panel said it should be. Then Judge Sullivan played another game. How long can this purgatory last? You're the legal professional. How long can this sword of Damocles be held above Mike Flynn's head?
Well, if it runs into next week, I think we're going to have to look at filing another mandamus action. This is just unforgivable.
And how is Mike Flynn keeping up? His brother texted me yesterday. We saw that amazing article he wrote for Western Journal. This has taken far too long. What kind of toll has this taken on Mike and the family?
Well, it's been really hard for the entire family. You can't even imagine unless you've actually been under the weight and pressure of a federal investigation how horrible it is. I think they've held up better than most people would because they're such a strong family and they have such strong faith. And so many people, especially in the last year and a half, have rallied around them. It's been an amazing experience to be part of the American people's response to the truth coming out.
We have to do a comparison here, Sidney. Follow this lady right now, Sidney Powell 1 on Twitter. She is the author of Conviction Machine. So on the one hand, full disclosure, I've said it before, I worked on the presidential transition team for Mike Flynn. I was on his National Security Council team. I was helping prepare the phone calls, writing talking points for the NSC incoming team, the phone calls between the president-designate Donald Trump and his counterparts around the world. That's the job of a transition team. The incoming National Security Advisor is not confirmed by the Senate. He can start his work as soon as we win the election, and that's what he did. The phone call with Ambassador Kislyak was completely above board. Nothing was discussed that didn't fit into his mandate. In fact, we were requesting the assistance of Russia in a United Nations vote that was anti-Israel. That's what Mike Flynn was talking about. He was charged with lying to a federal agent. His family was threatened by the federal agents, and then he ends up in a dock charged with a felony, and he's been standing there ever since. On the other hand, Sidney Powell, we have evidence every single day, more and more, that there was a pay-to-play scheme. The latest breaking news, $5 million given to the Biden family by a communist Chinese company, an unsecured forgivable loan. We have clear pay-for-play emails. We have evidence of crimes. Not one person has been charged. As the person who's there, as the legal representative of somebody like Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, at what point do you say, I no longer have faith in the justice system of the United States, Sidney?
Well, I was definitely at that point until the Department of Justice itself moved to dismiss the case with prejudice. That is exactly what they should have done. It took an extraordinary amount of time to get there, but Attorney General Barr had only been in office about 8 months or so when he asked Mr. Jensen to review it, and we had filed motions that made clear there were significant problems in the case, but we have to give him credit for asking Mr. Jensen to do an independent review of it, because Judge Sullivan had completely failed to live up to his own Brady order, even requiring the government to produce evidence favorable to the defense. That's one of the most stunning things, I think, about this whole case, is Judge Sullivan's failure to act in this case the same way he did in the Ted Stevens case. But then we learned at the recent hearing that the reason he moved to dismiss or he dismissed the Stevens case was because, quote, Eric, end quote, asked him to do so. And that referring to Attorney General Eric Holder, who came into office and just a few weeks later asked to dismiss the case against Ted Stevens, promising to clean up the Department of Justice. And, of course, we know it only got worse.
So let me ask the naive question. I'm not a lawyer, but if the Department of Justice, which makes the decision to prosecute, says they don't want to prosecute somebody, why is Mike Flynn still under the power of Judge Sullivan?
Well, the rule under which the government moved to dismiss contains one little clause that says with leave of court. And so Judge Sullivan has taken that opportunity to transmogrify that into something that requires his significant participation in deciding whether that motion can be granted. That is contrary to all the law in the country, including from the Supreme Court, that even points out that the leave of court provision was put in there to protect the defendant from abusive prosecutions and from the government coming in to dismiss one day after it indicted another day and then waiting for a better time or place or circumstance to charge again later. Well, in our unusual case, most unusual case, absolutely unprecedented case, Judge Sullivan himself has effectively taken up the mantle of the prosecutor. He appointed a friend of his to brief against and argue against dismissing the case, alleging political motivation by the president and the attorney general, when the only political motivation evidenced in this case, and the record is replete with it now, is that the FBI made up the entire case against General Flynn for their own political reasons to spy on and destroy the Trump campaign and then presidency.
And the last question I have to ask you, and maybe you're not comfortable answering this one, it goes beyond the remit of the incredible work you have been doing, the fearless work you've been doing for General Flynn, and really for all of us who could be so targeted. Why was it Mike? Why did they have to take Mike down, Sidney?
Because he knew everything. He was probably the most informed person on the tactics of the Obama administration. He had been Obama's Defense Intelligence Agency head. He knew about the Benghazi problems. He knew about the rise of ISIS and how Obama turned a blind eye to it. He was going to audit the intel agencies. He knew about billions of dollars being run off books. He knew it all. He was going to clean up the mess.
That's why he was target number one. Please support this man, MikeFlynnDefenseFund.org. That's MikeFlynnDefenseFund.org. God bless you, Sidney Powell. I wish we had 1,000 people like you here in Washington, D.C. Follow this lady right now. She's a hair's breadth away from 500,000 followers on Twitter. That's Sidney Powell 1, and the book is Conviction Machine. Conviction Machine. Thank you, Sidney, and give our very best to Mike and his whole family. This